Hello there, welcome or welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Samantha and this is my channel where I talk all about books. Anyway, today I'm going to do with a video which I'm very excited for. This is a very overdone concept, but I have never done this because I honestly could never get this website to work for me before until now. So today we're going to be doing a tier rank of all of the books that I read in 2024. So I read 75 books in 2024. If you want to know more information about my statistics and all of that, I just posted my statistics and goals, so you can check that video out if you want. But yeah, I read 75 books. We're not going to rank all 75 because 8 of the books that I read were nonfiction, and I just don't really know how I would rank those compared to fiction books. So I decided to exclude the nonfiction and we're just going to do the 67 fiction books that I read. So yeah, we are going to be ranking these books. For my tiers, I decided to do Vines because I don't think you know this about me, but I was obsessed with Vine when it was around back in the day. I was absolutely obsessed, and even after it ended, I would just watch Vine compilations on YouTube all the time because I was actually obsessed. It was unhealthy. Yeah, I am very familiar with Vine. I love Vines. I quote Vines pretty regularly in my day-to-day life, probably every day. And yeah, I thought it just made the most sense for me to make my tiers Vines. My top tier is This Is My Jam. These are the books that I love, my favorite books of the year. My second tier is That Was Legitness. And these are for books that were really good, even great. They're just not necessarily favorites. My next tier down is It's an Avocado. Thanks. So these are the books which were okay, maybe like a solid 3-star read, but they're not anything I would go back to in the future. They're an avocado, thanks. The next one down is potentially a lesser known Vine, but my sister knows it and we quote it all the time, but it is What? If you don't know this Vine, it's this little child trying to read the word who, and they keep reading it as what? These are the books that I don't really remember them. I'm like, what? The next tier that I have is They Ask You How You Are and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine. And these are for books that were very disappointing to me. I was expecting great things from them and they let me down, and I'm not fine, but I have to say that I'm fine. And our final tier, the worst tier, is stop, I could have dropped my croissant. So obviously those are the books that were terrible and I wish I had stopped and dropped my croissant instead of reading them. Anyway, so those are my tiers and let's get into it. So the first book we have here is Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. This was a reread. It was actually one of my last books of the year, and that's going in This Is My Jam because I still loved that book, even though the first time I read it was 10 years ago. But that book is still, to me, it holds a place in my heart. I love that series and I'm still rereading it now, loving it, having such a good time. So if you haven't read Throne of Glass, you are missing out, in my opinion. The next one we have is one of the Summer I Turned Pretty books. It's Not Summer Without You. I think that's the second one. I didn't really like that one that much. I'll say It's an Avocado, thanks, because it was okay. This was another reread. I reread the whole series, so I might as well do the rest of them on here. The Summer I Turned Pretty I'll put above because I do think it was a little bit better. And then the last one is We'll Always Have Summer. I still think that one was slightly better than It's Not Summer Without You. Or was that one worse? I don't know. The thing is, I've also watched the show since rereading the books. That's why I reread the books, so that I could then watch the show. And I'm getting a little bit confused about what happened in the books and what happened in the show because I read them and watched them really close together. That order seems to me to be right. I feel like I don't like the second book as much as the other ones, but I don't really like any of them that much. They were fine on reread. I kind of wish I hadn't reread them. They're very average. I don't even like the show that much. It's pretty average. Okay, next we have A City of Heavenly Fire, which was another reread. I think I'll put in That Was Legitness, but honestly I feel like I didn't enjoy my reread of that as much as I enjoyed it the first time around, but I don't really think it's as low as It's an Avocado, thanks. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. I think I gave it 4 stars or 4.5, but I just feel like, I don't know, it had been such a long time since I had finished the other books in that series that by the time I read that I was kind of like, I'm just reading it so that I have reread the whole series instead of like just leaving this one. Moving on to some more rereads, we have A Court of Mist and Fury. I will put that in the top of That Was Legitness for now. I wouldn't say it's my jam because I feel like I did give it 5 stars, but I feel like I haven't enjoyed the series as much this time around. But then I don't know if it's tainted because of another book, which we'll get to in a second. For now, I'm gonna put that in That Was Legitness. That's how that feels today, but maybe I'll move it up to This Is My Jam. A Court of Wings and Ruin I will put below A Court of Mist and Fury because I do like it, but I think for me Akamath is better. Then we have the first 4 novellas in the Murderbot Diaries. I'm gonna put that in It's an Avocado, thanks. Or should I put in That Was Legitness? I feel like I just don't remember it that well. So you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna put it in It's Avocado, thanks. One of these was my favorite. It was the third one, which I think was Artificial Conditions. So actually, I'm gonna put that one in That Was Legitness because I think it was better than the other three. But in general, I like that series, but I don't love it as much as a lot of other people seem to. I think it's good, but it's not like a favorite or anything. And like I haven't finished it and I haven't been that motivated to finish it. So yeah, I think it makes sense. Like I think I give all of them between a 3 and a 4. Okay, then we have My Lady Jane, which I read just at the end of the year. And I'm gonna put that at the top of, no, I'm gonna put this in That Was Legitness. I might put it above that one because I did enjoy this, but I think I just prefer the show, which unfortunately was canceled. So we'll never get the second season, which I think is the second half of the book. But I didn't like the second half of the book as much as the first half. Next we have Recursion by Blake Crouch, and I'm gonna put this in They Ask You How You Are and You Just Have to Say That You're Fine When You're Not Really Fine, because I really enjoyed the first book I read by him, Dark Matter, and this one I just really didn't like. I think I gave it 2 stars or 2.5. It's not as bad as Stop, I Could Have Dropped My Croissant, but it was just very disappointing because I really enjoyed Dark Matter, and this one I just didn't like at all. Moving on, we have Nevermore. I'm gonna put that in That Was Legitness. I'm gonna put it above City of Heavenly Fire. Again, that was a reread. I really enjoyed it. It's solid. I just feel like I don't connect a ton with middle grade in general, but as middle grade goes, it was pretty good. It was legitness. Then we have Serpent and Dove by Shelley Mahurin. This one is gonna go into This Is My Jam. I really liked that book. I actually rated it lower than A Court of Mist and Fury, but in terms of enjoyment, when I think about that book, I feel more excited to continue on with the series than when I look at A Court of Mist and Fury. I mean, obviously I've read that series, so that doesn't apply, but like I feel more excited when I look at Serpent and Dove than when I look at A Court of Mist and Fury. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna move Court of Mist and Fury up. It's gonna go into This Is My Jam, but at the end of This Is My Jam. Then we have Two Wrongs Make a Right by Chloe Leese. This one I'm gonna put in Wah, because I honestly don't remember it very well. I just remember this was the second book I tried by her and it just wasn't for me. I just don't really like her writing style. I don't know what it is. Gonna put it there. Wondersmith I'm gonna put up here with Nevermore. I think Wondersmith was on par with Nevermore. Skyward I'm gonna put in It's Avocado, I think, because I did give it 3 stars. I thought it was good, but not great. Like I had some issues with it and I won't continue on with the rest of the series, but it wasn't disappointing enough to put it in They Ask You How You Are, blah, blah, blah. Weather Girl, I'm gonna put in Wah because honestly, it was very forgettable. Read it for a video where I read the lowest rated books on my TBR and it was fine at best, but it was not memorable. So yeah, Half a Soul, I'm gonna put, I think I'm gonna put it, actually, you know what? I'm gonna put it in Wah, but I'm gonna put it at the top. I enjoyed Half a Soul. I think I ended up giving it like 3.5 or 3.75. Like I had a good time with it in the end, but initially I tried to read it on my Kindle and I could not get through it. So I ended up having to get the audiobook and that was the only way I could finish it. And it wasn't that memorable to me. So yeah, I think this category makes sense for it. Next we have A Court of Silver Flames, and I think I'm gonna put that one in, I don't know where to put this one because I did give it 3 stars and there were parts of it that I really loved, but there were also parts of it that I really hated and it was very disappointing. So yeah, actually I think I'm gonna have to put it in They Ask You How You Are because it was not a particularly good book. Same with Spells for Forgetting. I found this one very disappointing. I had high expectations and they were not met. I really was expecting more from this book and I found it really dull. I'm gonna put that one as well in They Ask You How You Are. Next we have Book Lovers, and this is going straight to the top of This Is My Jam. I love that book so much. It was actually my favorite book of the year last year. Then we have The Marionettes, and I'm gonna put this one in Wah because I don't really remember it. I just remember it being very short and not very well explained whatsoever. It's like an urban paranormal fantasy and the world was just so poorly explained. Then we have Happy Place by Emily Henry. I'm gonna put that at the top of It's Avocado, thanks, because I did enjoy it. I think it's a good book, but it's one of my least favorite of Emily Henry's books. I really love Emily Henry, but I don't like People We Meet on Vacation. That book I just straight up do not like. And this book I enjoyed, and I think it's a well-crafted novel, but it's just not as lighthearted and fun as some of her other books. I mean, all of her books have a heavier element, but I feel like Happy Place is misleading because there's not really anything happy about it. It wasn't disappointed because I had lower expectations, but I don't think it was as good as That Was Legitness. Next, we have A Song for the Wild Built, and I'm gonna put that at the top of That Was Legitness. No, I'm gonna put it at the bottom of This Is My Jam. I really like that book. It was on my favorites list. Very wholesome, sweet novella, perfect for when you're in your 20s and you're feeling a bit lost. I would highly recommend. Then we have have The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. This is the second book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series, and I'm going to put it next to Happy Place in It's Avocado, thanks, because it was just not as good as the first book in my opinion. I loved the first book, I had such a fun time, but this second book I just felt was a little bit boring. It took me a while to get through, but it was still good, and it was a good conclusion to that initial duet, but it wasn't my favorite thing I've ever read. Okay, now we have Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This was like my second favorite book of the year. However, I hadn't done my Throne of Glass reread, and I would say I actually probably prefer Throne of Glass over Tress of the Emerald Sea a tiny bit, but like it's really hard to compare because Throne of Glass is like one of my all-time favorite series, but I do think that maybe Tress of the Emerald Sea is not quite as high up on my favorites as Throne of Glass. The Midnight Library is next. I'm gonna put this here in byeeee because honestly barely remember reading that. I know I read it, I remember being very underwhelmed by it, so there's nothing particularly memorable about it for me. Next we have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I'm gonna put this in the They Ask You How You Are category. I really had high hopes for this, and for most of the book I was having a really good time, but the last 100 pages just completely lost me and I was so unbelievably bored. Fortunately that ended up being like a 2-star read. Next we have The Phoenix Crown by Kate Quinn and Janie Chang. This is a historical fiction novel and it was a good time. It wasn't like anything groundbreaking. If you like Kate Quinn's writing, it was very similar to her other stuff, but I'm gonna put it above My Lady Jane in That Was Legitness because it was a really good book and I would definitely recommend it, but it wasn't like a new favorite. Next we have A Prayer for the Crowned Shy by Becky Chambers, and I didn't like this one as much as A Psalm for the Wild Built, so I'm gonna put it around here in That Was Legitness because it was still a good book, but I just think that A Psalm for the Wild Built was better and it achieved what it wanted to achieve without actually needing to continue on the series, in my opinion. Like it definitely could have been a standalone, although equally if Becky Chambers writes more in that series I will probably read it. I think A Psalm for the Wild Built was perfect by itself. Then we have Do Your Worst by Rosie Danan. That is going in stop, I could have dropped my croissant, our first one in that category. This was a 1-star read. I hated it. I read it for my reading the lowest books on my TBR video, and this was the lowest rated, and I can see why. It is a terrible book. And moving on, we have The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton, and I'm also going to put this in stop, I could have dropped my croissant. I really did not like this book. Again, this one was quite disappointing as well because I had higher expectations, having heard some good stuff about his other books, but also I just think it was a bad book. No offense, Stuart, but it was not very well written. It was really boring. I think you were supposed to care about the characters, but I didn't. And yeah, it was really disappointing to read. It wasn't terrible, but it just wasn't a book for me. Next, we have Flawless by Elsie Silver. And if you had asked me right when I read it, it would have gone in That Was Legitness, but probably the end of that. But because it's been a long time and I've read other books by her, I'm actually going to put it in It's Avocado, thanks. Because I had a good time with Flawless. I thought it was a really fun time, but I don't know. I've read some of her other books and really not enjoyed them so much. So I feel like it's kind of tainted my opinion of Flawless, and maybe if I reread it I also would be a bit like, oh, I don't know. Then we have Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. I'm gonna put this right under A Quarter Rings of Ruin in That Was Legitness. I think I gave it a 3.5, or maybe I should put it a little bit lower. When I put it here, actually, I really enjoyed this one. I think I gave it 3.5, but I enjoyed it so much more than Done and Dusted, which was the first book. I'm gonna put Done and Dusted above Flawless, but I'm gonna put it in It's Avocado, thanks, because this one was a 3-star read for me. I thought it was just okay, but for a debut I actually think it was pretty good, and I liked her writing style enough to continue on, and I thought Swift and Saddled was much better. So yeah, that one I would definitely put as That Was Legitness. While we're here, let's do Lost and Lassoed, which is the third book, and I'm going to put that above A Psalm for the Wild Built. This one I gave 4.5. So as you can see, for me, she's just got better and better with each book, and I'm so excited for Wild and Wrangled, which is the 4th book in this series. But yeah, these are the 3 books in the Rebel Blue Ranch series, which is a cowboy romance series, and it's so fun. I love it way more than Elsie Silver, no offense. Speaking of Elsie Silver, let's just finish off with the rest of her books that I read. We have Heartless, which I'm gonna put Heartless in They Ask You How You Are and You Just Have to Say You're Fine, because I feel like everyone who loves the Chestnut Spring series loves Heartless the most, and I think Heartless was my least favorite, potentially. Of the ones that I finished, I didn't read all of them, but yeah, I really did not like Heartless at all. And then for Powerless, I'm gonna put that in byeeee because I did read it and I thought it was okay. I gave it 3 stars, but it was just not that good. I just think that all of her books are the same and I don't really like them, and they're overly smutty in my opinion, just for my personal tastes. Obviously no shade if you love Elsie Silver, that is your prerogative, but she's just not for me, I think. So I think I'm done with her. Then we have In the Weeds by B.K. Borison. I'm gonna put this one at the top of byeeee because I don't really remember this one a ton. I know that this one is my least favorite in the series, but it was still good. It was like a 3-star. Actually, I'm gonna put it above The Summer I Turned Pretty. Yeah, I'm gonna put it there. It was good. It just wasn't amazing. Actually, I was a little bit disappointed. You know what? No, I'm gonna keep it where it was. It's going in WA. Then we have The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I'm gonna put this one above Serpent and Dove, and actually I'm gonna move Lost and Lassoed above Serpent and Dove as well. Yeah, that feels better. Serpent and the Wings of Night is the first book in the Crowns and Nyaxia series. Loved it. It was such a fun time. Maybe not the best book ever written, but it was a 5-star read for me. I had a blast reading that. Then we have The Crimson Moth by Kristen Cicerelli, also known as Heartless Hunter, and I'm gonna put that under Happy Place in It's Avocado Thanks. It was good. I enjoyed my time reading it. It's very similar to Serpent and Dove. So if you like Serpent and Dove and you haven't read Heartless Hunter, then you might want to do that. Or if you've read Heartless Hunter and you haven't read Serpent and Dove, then I would recommend reading Serpent and Dove because obviously, in my opinion, it's better. But yeah, it was good. It was a fun time. It wasn't as good as I was expecting after hearing a lot of hype about it. Speaking of things that weren't as good as I was expecting, we have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I forgot that I even read that, so I'm gonna put that in what? It was good. I think I maybe gave it 3.5 or 4 stars actually, but it is very reminiscent to a lot of young adult dystopian books from like the 2010s. I don't know, it didn't bring anything new to the table, and honestly I can barely remember it. So yeah, I'm gonna put it here because I think that makes sense for me. Next we have The Catch by Amy Lee. I think I'm gonna put this towards the bottom of WA, because again, I don't really remember it a ton. I remember it being the most disappointing book in that series. It's the 3rd book in the Influencer series, which the first one is Set on You, and then X's and O's. X's and O's were my favorite, and The Catch was definitely a letdown. It wasn't nearly as good in my opinion. Next we have Funny Story by Emily Henry. This one I'm going to put under Trust for the Emerald Sea and above Serpent and the Wings of Night in This Is My Jam, because I love that book. I already talked about how much I love Emily Henry, so I'm not going to do it again, but I love Emily Henry. Next we have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I am going to put this at the bottom of It's Avocado Thanks. I thought this book was okay. I realized that Omegaverse is not for me. I don't want to read about knotting at all. That was so weird for my personal preferences, and I just don't love Ali Hazelwood's books in general, unfortunately. This was kind of like my last shot with her at a full-length novel, and I didn't love it. But I don't know. I've heard really good things about Love Theoretically, and I'm still like intrigued by it. It's on my radar, but I don't know if I'll read it because I kind of thought I was done with her. Next we have Only in Forever by Chloe Leese. I'm gonna put this at the bottom of what? Because I really don't remember that book. It was accidentally the last book in a series, and I got it on NetGalley because I didn't realize. I just heard the name Chloe Leese and I recognized that name, and I hadn't read anything by her, so. And the actual plot sounded really good, but I did not like it, unfortunately. Next we have All I Want Is You, which is a Christmas romance novel, and I am going to put this above Bride. I thought this book was fine. It was cute enough, but it wasn't amazing. It was like second chance, enemies to lovers, forced proximity. They're both authors. Like, it was so many tropes that it was too heavy-handed in my opinion. But it was cute and sweet, but it just wasn't amazing. So yeah, actually, you know what? I'm gonna put it above The Summer I Turned Pretty because that series was really not that great. Next, we have Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco. I'm gonna put that above The Crimson Moth, but I'm still gonna put it in It's Avocado Thanks because unfortunately I didn't love this as much as I was expecting to. I really thought I was gonna have an amazing time, but I didn't realize that this is the first book in a spin-off series after the Kingdom of the Wicked series. So I don't know if I had read that first, if that would change my opinion, but ultimately it just felt very drawn out. It was like over 500 pages and it didn't need to be, but I still like had a good time with it. I think I gave it like 4 stars, but it just wasn't amazing. Then we have Mixed Signals by B.K. Borison. I'm gonna put this above Skyward. I enjoyed this one. I think the third act conflict was a little bit silly, but I had a good time. And actually, while we're on the B.K. Borison train, let's also do Business Casual. I think that one's my favorite apart from Love Light Farms. Love Light Farms is my absolute favorite, and then probably Business Casual afterwards. But yeah, that one was fun. I got an arc of that and it was a good time. It doesn't have a third act conflict, which is always fun. It's definitely a bit smuttier than her other books, but it was good. Then we have The Songbird and the Heart of Stone by Chris Broadbent. This is the first book in a new duology within the Nyaxia series, and this one was so disappointing. I think I'm gonna put it in between Emily Wilde and Recursion in They Ask You How You Are, because I really thought I was gonna love this. I got an arc of it and I was so excited, and then I just struggled with this book so much. It was so dull, so repetitive. I didn't like the romance that much. I really thought I was gonna love this character because we met her in the first couple of books. There was something off about it. I haven't read a finished copy, so maybe the finished copy is better, but yeah, I was disappointed. I will read the next one, but it was quite disappointing. Next we have January's by Olivia Blake. This is an anthology, and I'm gonna put this in what? To be honest, because I don't really remember it. I liked some of the stories. Other stories I didn't like so much. I don't really know why I read this because I don't like short stories. I'm also not even like a massive Olivia Blake fan, so I don't know why. It was fine. I just don't really remember it that well. So yeah. Then we have The Wedding Witch by Erin Sterling. I am going to put this in They Ask You How You Are right after A Court of Silver Flames because I was so looking forward to this one. I love the first two books in that series. The first one is The XX. I love those books. They are the perfect Halloween witchy rom-coms that I love so much. But this one, I don't know what happened. It just was not very good. I didn't feel any connection between the characters. I just didn't like it, unfortunately. So yeah, that one was very disappointing. Next we have Only Santa's in the Building by Alexis Doria. This is one of the Christmas novellas from Amazon, and this one was okay. I'll put it after Bride in It's an Avocado Thanks. It was fine. One that I didn't like at all was All by My Elf by Olivia Dade. I would say that might be my worst thing that I read this year. Actually though, Merry Ever After by Tessa Bailey, that is a close contender in the worst. Honestly, they were so bad. I wish I hadn't read them. Even though they were only like 50 pages each, I wish I hadn't read them. I just wish I could remove that from my brain. Cruel Winter with You, however, I enjoyed, and I think I probably enjoyed it more than I enjoyed Bride, so I'm going to put that there. That's also Ali Hazelwood. And then lastly, Merriment and Mayhem. That one was okay, but not as good as Only Santa's in the Building. I'd say I probably preferred that over Merriment and Mayhem. And it was like still like a 2.5 star, but I wasn't like disappointed by it because I didn't have high expectations. The Christmas novellas were really not that great. I don't really think a romance novella is for me because I don't think there's enough time to really get the characters together and for me to believe that they're a good couple. I don't know if I'll read any more in the future. And next we have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. That one is going to go into This Is My Jam. We're gonna put it here. Yeah, that feels right. I really enjoyed this one. Unfortunately, it is the third book in a series and I didn't realize the first one being Part of Your World, and I haven't read Part of Your World or the second one, so it did kind of spoil things a little bit, but it's fine. I still had a really good time with it and I will just have to reread it, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. Then we have The Teller of Small Fortunes. I'm going to put that one at the bottom of That Was Legitness. It was a good read, a solid 4 stars, but I just don't think it's like something I'm going to think about a ton, but it was definitely better than like Happy Place. So yeah, it's definitely going to go there. Then we have Hot Ex-Boyfriend by Carly Bloom. I'm going to put that one in stop, I could have dropped my croissant. This one was not very good. It was another witchy rom-com. I keep on trying them. As I already said, I love the XX and the Kiss Curse, so I feel like this is a genre that I should love, but I've had so much trouble trying to find another small town witchy rom-com that I enjoy because honestly there are so many bad ones out there. No offense, but so many of them are not good, and this one was also not that good. Speaking of books which were not fantastic, we have Five Broken Blades by May Corland. I gave this one 3 stars. I think it was good but not great. I think I'm gonna put it under Skyward in It's an Avocado Thanks. I think I will read the sequel, but something that I didn't like about this one was that we're basically following 6 characters and they're all on the same mission to kill the king, and it's very dangerous. They all come from different backgrounds. They're having to work together even though they wouldn't necessarily. They don't trust each other, but they all like couple up, so the 6 of them turn into like 3 pairs, and it just wasn't necessary. I feel like there's this big push at the moment to have everything be a romantasy, and it doesn't need to be. So I think this would have worked better with less romance. That's why I think it suffered a little bit. Then we have The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Ali Carter. This one was good. I think I gave it 3 or 3.5. I'm gonna put it underneath Mixed Signals in It's Avocado Thanks. Again, this one wasn't super memorable. I think the romance wasn't necessary. It was a good time. As you can see, I had a lot of books that I just felt kind of ambivalent about this year, which is a real shame. We're on to the last 2. We have Hollowpox by Jessica Townsend. I should have done this one earlier, but I'm gonna put this one with the rest of the Nevermore series. Really enjoyed this. It's getting a bit darker and more intense, which I think is good, and I'm excited to see where it goes with the next book, which is coming out this year. It was good. It was legitness, but not a jam, in my opinion. And then finally we have The Rebel Witch by Kristen Cicerelli. This is the second and final book in that duology, and I am going to put this one in They Ask You How You Are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, because I saw so much potential for this book to be better than the first one, and it was just really disappointing, especially like the grand finale. It only lasted like 20 pages, and you know, this is the final book in this series. It should be really intense, and it was just kind of a letdown in my opinion. Anyway, that's it. That's the tier rank. So as you can see, we had a decent amount in the top 2 categories, but our main categories were the kind of mid category and the one where I don't even remember much about them, and not too many in the bottom 2 categories, but it was not the best reading year ever. Let's hope that 2025 is better. But yeah, that is all for tier ranking all of the books that I read in 2024. Please let me know if you liked this type of video. I love watching these. They're so fun. I'm glad that I finally figured out how to get the website to work. It's only taken me like 4 years to work it out, but it's fine. Please let me know what your favorite book of 2024 was. I would love to know. That is all that I have for this video, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below, and I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye!